his truck a Super Chevy. He's out of Benton, Kentucky. He will be our test puller each time we change classes. The first puller is always the test puller. That gives the driver an opportunity to see if he felt like he wants to take or drop his pull. It gives the track officials an opportunity to look to see if they think the sled's set right, and it gives the sled operator an opportunity to feel like he's giving them all the best shot. So we'll let him go, see how far he goes. Again, if you have little ones, it's going to get loud here tonight in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Be sure to cover their ears if you do not have ear protection for them. I know I noticed down there a lot of our vendors do have ear protection. If you need to, you can run down there and get you some. They'll be happy to fix you up. But it will get loud under these bleachers, I'm going to tell you.
It gets loud up here in the press box, and we're sitting behind glass.
Here we go with the Super Chevy. Woo, how about that? All right, here's the distance for the Super Chevy, 3:29.02. Hey, a good pull. He has took it, so we are official and underway. Coming in next out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, truck's called Now Hiring. Chris Jennings.
First puller on sled number 2 is going to be Charlie Ciolino out of Hammond, Louisiana. He calls this Case of the Reds.
I'll believe that stock motor in that truck.
Strictly stock.
That's what they say, isn't it?
Probably got a radiator hose to stop.
Something.
Oil plug.
Body panels look pretty good on it. Mostly stock.
Mostly.
All right, green flag. Now hiring. Good pull. Here's his distance, 301.57, 301.57. And that's going to wrap up the Supermods. That's only two we had here tonight. So now Hiron's going to take second. And your winner, Shane Greer in that Super Chevy.
All right, distance for Case of the Reds and Charlie Cialino, 301 and 35. 301 and 35.
That's going to bring in our two-wheel drive class. Got a good lineup. Kryptonite, Wesley Lusk got Altamont, Crosswired, Trimmer, Strutting, Barbed Wire, Papa Bear, Old School, Wild Child, The Untouchable, American Made, and Thunder Road. A great lineup on our two-wheelers here tonight. Tell you a little bit more about each one of them as they come in, but coming in first will be the truck called Kryptonite, Wesley Lusk. He's out of Altamont, Tennessee.
Understand that Charlie Cialino is going to keep that pull. 301 and 35 was his distance. That means we're official and underway on track number 2. Next up will be the Moonshiner with Winston Hines pulling out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
While it's kind of quiet right here for just a minute, we'd like to thank a few more folks. We'd like to thank the folks at Tri-Green Equipment, H&R Agri-Power, and Brown Equipment down Loretta, Tennessee. They have loaned us this equipment we're using out here this weekend to work the tracks and to keep the show moving along here, tow tractors and scraper tractors and whatnot. We appreciate that. We'd also like to thank Counts Farms. They have donated a lot of the equipment we've used to build the track and whatnot this weekend. Hey, we couldn't do these things without support from our ag community like we get around here. And if you're wondering, pullers, if you can hear me, the payoff will be at the Mid-South table down here at the end of the grandstands. The checks will be there as they come available.
All right, next puller is going to be the Moonshiner. Pulling out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee is Weston Hines. Here we go. Correction on that, that's Cranford Jennings and Barebones Binder hooked up. They're got them a little shuffled up out there. That's due to that sled problem. So this is Cranford Jennings. Cranford Jennings. Distance for Cranford Jennings is 296 and 89. 296 and 89, the distance for Cranford Jennings. Let's see now. Next puller on. All right, they're telling me that we got Russell DeBerry coming in. Pulling on the tractor he calls the Ridge Runner. They've got us a little bit scrambled up on our class sheet. That's because of that scale issue back in the back. We'll call them as we see them. And if I get it wrong, y'all correct me tomorrow morning sometime around, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock when I get up.
How about a T-bucket, y'all? How about that? All right, tell me the distance on that 59 truck. 310.95. 310.95. He is going to take it, so we are underway. That's going to bring in Crossroads. Ethan Foster. He's out of McMinnville, Tennessee.
All right, distance for Russell Berry out of Hornsby and the Ridge Runner. 3:08 and 71. 3:08 and 71. The distance for Russell Berry. Looks like the next man in line on track number 2 is going to be the high-end harvester. That's Chris Hawkins out of War, Tennessee.
All right, over on track 1, that's Crosswire. Ethan Foster. Woo, stretching it out.
Over here on track 2 is going to be High and Harvester. Chris Hawkins, the puller. He's pulling out of Wartrace, Tennessee.
All right, here's your distance over on track 1 for that Crosswire's truck. 331.17, 331.17. That's going to bring in the trimmer, Mark Ford. He's out of Woodbury, Tennessee. Need a tow tractor on track 1, please. Tow tractor on track 1.
Distance for High and Harvester and Chris Hawkins, 312 and 12, 312.12 the distance. Tow tractor needed on track number 1. Tow tractor, please.
All right, while they getting him hooked up and off for track, like I say, coming in next over on track 1 is going to be the truck called Trimmer, Mark Ford.
Coming in on track number 2 is a tractor they call Brothers Keeper. That's John Morris pulling out of Liberty, Kentucky. I understand that this tractor was our session winner last night in the class. Shane Greer's birthday today. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go, Brothers Keeper. Oh, wasn't that pretty? That's the way you do it for sure.
Them old 60-30s just keep digging.
Have the distance for you here shortly. All right, we have a new leader. Brothers Keeper and John Morris. Distance is 3:18 and 51. 3:18 and 51 the distance for John Morris and Brothers Keeper.
All right, looks like we got a clear ultra track over on 1. Trimmer! Uh-oh. He didn't get out of it. He does have the option to back up and go again, unless he may have had some kind of mechanical problem. Couldn't tell from up here.
Looks like they're calling for a tow tractor, Colonel. Yep.
I believe they are. I believe he's got his unit down there. They'll drag him out of the way here in a second. Officially, he did go 58.96 feet. And that counts toward the points at the end of the year. May not help much tonight, but at the end of the year, that may make the difference. All right, that's going to bring in strutting out of Lester, Alabama. Mr. T.J. Wallace will be our next competitor over on track 1.
All right, next puller on track number 2 is out of Smithville, Tennessee. It's Russ Vandergriff and Green Fever.
Come back to the end of the class.
Nice pull on Green Fever. Distance for Green Fever, 3:17 and 09. 3:17 and 09 to pull for Russ Vandergriff and Green Fever.
That Green Fever tractor, that's Vandergriff Farms. There's Bernice walking along the track right there. But I was talking to him the other day. He said the first time he pulled in Lawrenceburg, Davy Crockett was the flag man. He's been coming down here a long time.
Well, we got a little bit of quiet time. This poll tonight sponsored by the Crossroads of Dixie Antique Tractor Club and jointly with the Lawrenceburg Rotary Club. Between the two groups, we have been doing this poll since 2004 and been doing it here in this grandstand. The opening event, the first event held in front of this grandstand was back in 2014, and that was this event that we're at right here now. All right, the Moonshiner hooking up on sled number 2. This is Brad Foster pulling out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
And over on track 1, that's strutting. Calls that truck T.J. Wallace out of Lester, Alabama. Good pull right there for the strutting truck. All right, over on track 1, the distance for strutting, 311.93. 311.93. That's going to bring in barbed wire, Wesley Foster. He's out of Woodbury, Tennessee. Good strong running truck.
Distance on track number 2 is Weston Hines pulling on the Moonshiner. 303.98, 3.3, and 98 to pull for Weston Hines on the Moonshiner. Looks like next puller in line is going to be Marianne Kerr out of Columbia, Tennessee. She is definitely a veteran here in Lawrenceburg. Marianne Kerr in Financial Mistake.
Talk about stretching the track out. Y'all ready for this? Here's the distance on that. Distance on that barbed wire truck, 341.41. That's going to bring in Papa Bear out of Pulaski, Tennessee. Teresa Glover behind the wheel tonight.
Distance for Marianne Kerr and Financial Mistake, 305 and 52. 305 and 52. The distance for Financial Mistake. Next puller in line here on track number 2 is Jesse Turner out of Logan, Alabama. He's on a tractor he calls Foghorn Left Horn. I say Foghorn Left Horn. All right, this will be the last puller on track number 2.
Good pull.
Here we go, Foghorn Leghorn.
All right, here's the distance for the Papa Bear, 320.02, 320.02. That's going to bring it old school. Brad Farrell, he's out of Mulberry, Tennessee.
All right, distance for Foghorn Leghorn is 265 and 72, 265 and 72. The pull for Jesse Turner out of Logan, Alabama. That concludes our Super Farm class. I'll have your order of finish here in just a moment. All right, here we go in the Super Farm class. Fourth place with a pull of 308 and 71. Went to the Ridge Runner and Russell DeBerry out of Hornsby, Tennessee, 308 and 71 the distance. Third place on a podium finish went to Chris Hawkins on High End Harvester, War Trace, Tennessee driver, 312 and 12, 312 and 12 the distance. Good for third place. Second place goes to Russ Vandergriff out of Smithville, Tennessee, on Green Fever, 317 and 9, 317.09. That's good for second place for Russell Vandergriff. And your winner in the Super Farm class is John Morris out of Liberty, Kentucky. 2 nights in a row, the Brothers Keeper taking home the blue ribbon and the gold money. Russell Keeper is your winner. Attention drivers, payoff is at the Mid-South table, south end of the covered grandstand. Payoff at the Mid-South table at the south end of the covered grandstand. We'll have the checks for you as soon as possible.
All right, backing in over on track number 1, old school, good-looking Chevrolet right there. That's Brad Farrell. He's out of Mulberry, Tennessee. Pretty pass right there for the old school Chevrolet. All right, over here on track 1, the distance for the old school, 327.87. 327.87. That's going to bring in the Wild Child, Danny Lusk out of Altamont, Tennessee, up next.
All right, on track number 2, we're ready for the limited light super stock class. Here is the lineup as I have it. We'll see if they pull it in this order or not. We'll call them off as they show up. First up will be Bob Catalin out of Arley, Alabama on Farm Y'all 450. Farm Y'all 450, Bob Catalino in the driver's seat out of Arley, Alabama. Second puller is Guesswork 2 with Caleb Cook out of Mount Hermon, Tennessee. Third puller will be Dark Fired Express. Adam Wright out of Lewisburg, Kentucky is the driver. The fourth puller will be Little Man's Dream and Derek Cooper out of Scottsville, Kentucky, followed by Ghost Rider and Perry Baird out of Readyville, Tennessee. Family Tradition and Richard Taylor out of Scottsville, Kentucky will follow. Then Constant Sorrow and Evan McDaniel out of Florence, Alabama. Grain Train with Nick Harrell out of Morrison, Tennessee. Then Daydreamin' and Eli Wallace out of Tony, Alabama. High Dollar Deer and Kyler Hill out of Florence will be our next to the last puller, and the last puller in the class, according to my list, is Rosebud with Michael Rose from Ashland City, Tennessee. That will be our limited light super stock class. All right, looks like the first puller is going to be Daydreamin' and Eli Wallace out of Tony, Alabama. Daydreamin' with Eli Wallace, be our first puller. there's his pull. He's got some decisions to make here now. Sounded like he had it in a little bit of a taller gear. Puller's got to decide if he wants to take the pull, and they'll need to decide if they want to reset that sled. They tell us that Eli Wallace is going to take that pull, and they're going to leave the sled as is for right now. The distance, 2:35 and 57, 2:35 and 57, the pull for Eli Wallace.
Great pull for the Wild Child. All right, here's your distance for the Wild Child. 323.85, 323.85. That's going to bring in the untouchable Caitlin Gooch out of Athens, Alabama.
Here's Farm Y'all 450. Bob Castellino out of Arley, Alabama, setting up on track number 2.
Got that old school sheet metal on that farm all.
He had about all he could handle last night, if I recall. Hopefully he got her tweaked up tonight, do it a little better.
We'd also like to thank Cropland, Dixie Dino and Engine, Dixon and Son Tractor Repair, Doss Brothers, Eagleville Implement, Elliott and Associates Insurance, Heine's Barbecue, Farm Bureau of Lawrence County, Heritage Bank, First Farmers Bank, Gowan Wholesale, Heritage Automotive, Jeffrey Dykes, and Nakia McFall.
Out of it well before that 100-foot marker. See if he wants to pull back, try it again. They tell us he's going to pull back, try it again. right, here's the distance on Bob Catalino, 38 and 95, 38 and 95. And that counts as a hook, and he'll get a few points for that. So it's not totally wasted. But let's give him a big hand. Obviously having a little trouble with that tractor this weekend. He'll get it worked out, though.
Right over on track one back at end, that's Caitlin Gooch, calls that truck the Untouchable. Ain't that a sharp-looking ride? Good pass right there.
Next pull on track number 2 is going to be Guesswork 2 out of Mount Herman, Tennessee. Caleb Cook is the puller on Guesswork 2.
All right, here is your distance for the Untouchable. 335.32, 335.32. That's going to bring in out of Eagle, Tennessee, Mike Rigsby, calls his truck Thunder Road.
Our sponsors include Ag Direct, Organics Mid-South, Farmer Seed, Barebones Meats, Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce, Baker Equipment, BASF, Bear Crop Science, XC, Brown Equipment, Campbell Human Products, Christensen Transportation Incorporated, Fortita, Counts Farms, and Jennings Farms. All right, distance for Caleb Cook and Guesswork 2, 2, 8, 9, and 10. 2, 8, 9, and 10, the distance for Caleb Cook.
We got two two-wheel drives left. We got the Thunder Road, and then Tremor will be coming back. And then we're moving to the big Pro Stock diesel trucks.
That's Dark Fired Express lining up on sled number 2. Adam Wright out of Lewisburg, Kentucky. I understand that he won the class last night.
Pretty straight pass for the Thunder Road truck. All right, here's your distance for the Thunder Road truck. 3:16.76. 3:16.76. That's going to bring in the last puller in the class. Out of Woodbury, Tennessee, Mark Ford calls his truck Trimmer.
Looking full, man. That Tugger revved up there at the end.
I believe you get to tell you hey on that.
All right, we have a new leader on track number 2. It's Dark Fired Express. 3:18 and 74. 3:18 and 74 the pull for Dark Fired Express. Our sponsors tonight include Little Gold Mine, McDaniel Machine, Murphy Crop and Livestock Insurance, Rent Right, Stryker's Steakhouse, Summertown Metals, Tennessee Landwork, Thompson's Cat, Tri-Cities Truck Parts, Tri-Green, Titan Egg, Tennessee Valley Commodities, Volco Auto Supply, Watkins & Son Supply, and Wilson Oil Company.
And also, y'all, the Mid-South Pullers Association does have sponsors. They're listed on that inside fence over there beside the chalk line on the far side. Y'all can see who they are. We appreciate their support. They do keep up the points for the Mid-South Pullers Association throughout the year. Again, tonight's event is being sanctioned by the IHRA, the Pro Pulling League, and the Mid-South Pullers Association.
Next puller on track number 2 is Derek Cooper out of Scottsville, Kentucky. He calls this tractor Little Man's Dream.
I'd say he fixed his issue. He nearly hit the road out yonder. All right, y'all. I told you he stretched it out. 350.83. 350.83 is your last puller, and he is first place. But I'll give you the rest of the run down here in just a second.
Took the scenic route. Tell you what, that puller's eyes were big as teacups, and that thing about got away from him. Distance 371, the distance for Derek Cooper and Little Man's Dream.
All right, here's your top four in the two-wheel drive class. Fourth place is going to Crossroads, Ethan Foster. 331.17, 331.37. Third place is going to the Untouchable Caitlin Gooch, 335.32. Second place going to Wesley Foster in that barbed wire truck, 341.41. And your winner, Trimmer, 350.83. If I'm not mistaken, he took the class last night, so he done a repeat. Hey, that's going to bring in our Pro Stock diesel trucks. Got a good group of them here tonight. Chump Change, Joey Rank out of Bells, Tennessee, be coming in first, followed by Optimum Prime. Midnight Smoke hooking for a cure, the Dixie Ram, Wagon Wheel, Unpredictable Attitude, Red, White, and Rolling, and the Bandit. Good group of them.
All right, Ghost Rider hooking up. Easy for me to say. Ghost Rider Perry Barrett hooking up on sled number 2. He's pulling out of Readyville, Tennessee. Here we go. Or something laying in the track down there around the 200-foot mark. This is for Perry Barrett and Ghost Rider 301 and 98, 301.98 the pull for Perry Barrett and Ghost Rider. Next puller on my list is Richard Taylor in Family Tradition. He's pulling out of Scottsville, Kentucky.
All right, up first on Road Track 1 in this new class, the Pro Stock diesel trucks. Chump Change, Joey Rank, he's out of Bells, Tennessee. About digging. All right, to tell me the driver's going to keep it. The distance, 306.78, 306.78 over on track 1 for the Chump Change. Looks like we underway. That's going to bring in Optimus Prime, Preston Collins. He won her in here last night, Odessa, Texas. He got up for breakfast this morning to get here. This truck won the class last night, but I'm going to say some folks made some adjustments throughout the day today going after him.
Sitting up on track number 2 is Richard Taylor out of Scottsville, Kentucky, and Family Tradition. We have a new leader over here on track number 2. It's Family Tradition, distance 3:24 and 56. 3:24 and 56 the pull for Richard Taylor and Family Tradition. Next puller on track number 2 is Evan McDaniel out of Florence, Alabama, pulling a tractor he calls Constant Sorrow.
Don't know. I had to get a reading on that. I don't know if he got out of it quick enough or not.
Official was standing right there looking at it.
I thought that might be the case. I think he got out of it quick enough. He just coasted a little bit right there. So he go back up and go again. Something wasn't to his liking.
We're looking for Evan McDaniel, Nick Harrell, and Michael Rose. 3 pullers left on the limited light super stock class. Limited Pro Stock tractors get ready. Limited Pro Stock tractors get ready, please. All right, looks like that was Nick Harrell pulling. Distance for Nick Harrell is 3:17 and 48. 3:17 and 48 for Nick Harrell.
All right, yeah, that's Optimus Prime over on track 1. Don't know what he done, but he worked a lot better.
Once again, the distance for Grain Train and Nick Harrell was 3:17 and 48. 3:17 and 48 for Grain Train.
All right, the distance over on track 1 for the Optimus Prime, 310.33, 310.33. That's going to bring in Midnight Smoke from Metairie, Louisiana, Demetrius Staticus.
Track number 2. This is Constant Sorrow and Evan McDaniel hooking up. He's pulling out of Florence, Alabama.
All right, we've had a Dodge, a Ford, and now a General Motors truck out there. We're sorting them out tonight. Midnight Smoke.
All right, here we go. Evan McDaniel and Constant Sorrow. Folks, while I'm thinking about it, distance for Evan McDaniel is 3:05 and 45. 3:05 and 45, the distance for Evan McDaniel. Folks, while I'm thinking about it, a lot of you have brought food up into the grandstand, and we're glad that you did. Believe me, we're glad that you did. But if you would please, when we finish up tonight, if you could kind of check around your area. Finish up tonight, if you could check around your area and carry that down to the trash cans at the bottom of the steps, we certainly would appreciate it. Thanks very much.
All right, they're stretching it out. The distance for the Midnight Smoke truck, 316.42. 316.42. Good pull right there. All right, that's going to bring in another truck, good truck, local truck here, Cat out of Iron City, Tennessee. Hooking for cure, William Kaufman.
Last puller in the limited light super stock class is going to be an Ashland City driver. It's Michael Rose pulling on a tractor he calls Rosebud. Got him a nice primer job on that truck. I can hardly wait to see it with the paint on it.
Paint don't make footage, but it do look good.
If it don't make any difference, how come all the rest of them got paint on them? You can't answer that one, can you?
He may be waiting on it to come in. Parts are hard to get right now.
This will be the last puller in the class. That was a wild ride for sure. Distance for Rosebud is 298 and 32, 298 and 32. Distance for Michael Rose and Rosebuds. That's our limited light super stock class. I'll have your order finished here in just a second.
Well, we're on track one right now. We're backing in. It's William Kaufman, Iron City, Tennessee, calls his truck Hooking for Cure. Good, strong running forward. Good pull. All right, here's your distance. 306.85. 306.85 for Hooking for Cure. That's going to bring in another local truck right here, Hunter Armstead, driving a Dixie Ram.
right, here we go. In the limited light super stock class. Fourth place went to Evan McDaniel and Constant Sorrow, a distance of 3:05 and 45. 3:05 and 45, that's good for fourth place. Third place in a podium finish went to Grain Train with Nick Harrell, 3:17 and 48. 3:17 and 48, that's good for third place. Second place went to Adam Wright and Dark Fried Express, distance of 3:18 and 74. 3:18 and 74, good for second. And your winner in the limited light super stock class is going to be Richard Taylor out of Scottsville, Kentucky. Tracker he calls Family Tradition. Good for first place. First place money goes to Richard Taylor. And that's our limited light super stock class for this evening.
Yeah, the reverse is out in that truck right now. They can go forward, they can't go back, so they have to come get him. Well, we got just a minute right here. I tell you what, if you do follow the Mid-South Puller Association, next weekend we'll be down at the Walker Ranch in Florence, Alabama. Several good classes down there. The next weekend we'll be over at Ardmore, Tennessee. I tell you, they put on a good pull, and then I believe the next pull after that will be Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So lots of Mid-South pulling action coming up here in the next few weeks.
I think the next big event coming up here at Rotary Park is going to be next weekend. The Henderville Fire Department will be having their rodeo here at Rotary Park. That's Friday and Saturday night, June 12th and 13th. And then coming up in July, we have an annual event. What's becoming a major event here at Rotary Park is going to be the Kids Place Demolition Derby and Jump and Run. That is set for Saturday night, July 11th, coming up just about a month, about 5 weeks from now, the Kids Place Derby right here at Lawrenceburg Rotary Park.
All right, over track one, that's the Dixie Ram. Good pull. And here's your distance for the Dixie Ram, 3:08.99, 3:08.99. Out of Pulaski, Tennessee, coming in next, going to be a truck called Wagon Wheel, headed outfit.
Next class here on track number 2 is the Limited Pro Stop. Looks like some good ones here. First puller is going to be Nathan Brown out of Morrison, Tennessee on Double Vision, followed by Ethan Weston out of Mount Juliet and Deer Hunter 4.1. Then Nicholas Bradley out of Elora, Tennessee and Tennessee Red. Stephen Long in Prime Tractor 4.1 out of Lawrenceburg. Brad Foster out of Mount Juliet and Hillbilly Moonshiner. Michael Fanning out of Estelle Springs, Tennessee and Bad Habit. Then Dustin Whitaker out of Woodville, Alabama on Precision Pro. 50 Shades of Green with Dylan Barnett in the saddle out of Lafayette, Kentucky. I think they call it Lafayette up there. Dylan Barnett in 50 Shades of Green anyhow. Then Steve Bausma out of Worthington, Minnesota and Special Edition. We appreciate these fellas coming way on down. His brother's also pulling tonight, Mike Bausma, also out of Worthington, Minnesota on Limited Edition. Then Colby Counts out of Lawrenceburg on the Dixie Deer, and Larry Dean out of Hollywood, Alabama on Never Satisfied. A fine-looking Limited Pro Stock class coming up for you here in just a bit. Okay, they tell me Annabelle Pruitt is going to be driving Tennessee Red. right, first puller on track number 2 is going to be Nathan Brown out of Morrison, Tennessee on a tractor he calls Double Vision. Nathan will be our test puller.
You get that sled over on track 1 spot way over on that left-hand line. Let's see how that works out. Not a bad pull, not a bad pull.
Looks like his fan club down there at the end of the track. Nice smooth pull right there.
Sorry about that. Hey, over on track 1 for the wagon wheel, 313.45, 313.45. Hey, that left-hand track run pretty good for him. Got him up in second place. We still got some good trucks left to come. Ann Thornhill out of Hammond, Louisiana, calls her truck Unpredictable Attitude will be coming in next.
All right, he's going to take the pull. Here's the distance, 328 and 32. 328 and 32, the pull for Nathan Brown and Double Vision. Colonel,
all right, need a tow tractor.
Is it a little smoky out here?
Yeah. Maybe they got things moving along here. Okay, everybody's good here. I was getting word they needed a tow tractor, but I believe we're all right. Unpredictable Attitude's coming in next over on track 1.
I've got Deer Hunter 4.1 and Ethan Weston coming in. Mount Juliet, Tennessee driver. He'll be on track number 2. Wee-wee, look at that. All right, listen to this, folks. Distance for Deer Hunter 4.1, 340 and 18, 340 and 18, the bull for Deer Hunter 4.1. That's going to bring us Tennessee Red and Annabelle Pruitt in the saddle. She's pulling out of Elora, Tennessee. Tennessee Red up next on track number 2.
Over track 1. The name says unpredictable attitude. Well, I just got word from trackside. We fixed it to get underway with some mini rods. Good group of them here tonight. The Underdog, Wild Horses, Freak on the Leash, Totally Floored, Dirt Cheap, Playing Dirty, Scrap Iron, Doc, Headhunter, and Burning Money.
Track officials had a pretty good discussion about whether or not to reset the sled on track number 2. They have elected to stay with what we got. This could be interesting.
Might see some distance. They need to quit when they get to the pavement.
Well, when they get to the square, they need to hang a left. We'll pick them up in Pulaski.
Ah, that's more like it. All right, here's your distance for the unpredictable attitude. 296.38. 296.38. Got 2 left in the class. Next up, Red, White, and Rolling. Kevin Dowden out of Ettridge, Tennessee.
Looked like he was sitting in a rocking chair. The distance for Tennessee Red is 312 and 52. 312 and 52. The distance for Annabelle Pruitt is Tennessee Red. That's going to bring up the last tracker 1, Stephen Long, Lawrenceburg, Tennessee driver. This is a good one coming here.
All right, we're fixing to go in business over here on track number 3. Coming in first out of Mulberry, Tennessee, it's Brad Farrell, calls his ride Underdog. good pull.
Looking for Stephen Long and Plow Tractor 4.1. Track is yours, sir.
All right, the distance on that mini rod, the Underdog, 325.75, 325.75. They tell me he's keeping the hook. We may be on the way. That'll bring up Steve Aaron next out of Trenton, Tennessee. He was up here and offered a vacation tonight. Good fella, we appreciate that. He's on a rig called the Wild Horses. Right now, we're in business back over on track 1. That's Kevin Douthit in red, white, and rolling. Pretty fast. All right, here's your distance on red, white, and rolling. 270.78. 270.78. That's going to bring up our last hook in the class, the Bandit. From Terry, Louisiana, Nico Strategis.
Distance for Stephen Long and Plow Tractor 4.1 is 327 and 43. 327 and 43, the distance for Plow Tractor 4.1. That's going to bring up Hillbilly Moonshiner with Brad Foster in the saddle, pulling out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
All right, again, we're back over here on track number 3. Mini Rod, Wild Horses. Good pass. Wild Horses, 321.06, 321.06. That's going to bring in Freak on the Leash, Dusty Alford out of Macomb, Mississippi. He was your winner last night. Do understand he had some mechanical difficulties. He is basically going to hook and bump to maintain his points, and that will bring up Totally Floored 2, John Williams out of Auburn, Kentucky. We are hooking our last puller in the class over on the Pro Stock Diesel trucks. Again, this is the Bandit, Nico Strategis, all the way up from Louisiana.
Brad Foster got out of it.
All right, here's the distance on the Bandit, 314.44, 314.44. I'll have you order finish here in just a second. Give that freak on the leash, Dusty, a big hand. He, like I say, he did have some mechanical difficulties. He just needed to hook to the sled and bump it to maintain his point standing. Again, that's going to bring in totally floored 2. All right, here's where I've got the Pro Stock Diesel Trucks. 4th place going to Optimus Prime. Preston Collins, 310.33. 3rd place going to the Wagon Wheel, 313.45. 2nd place, the Bandit, 314.44. And your winner, Midnight Smoke, 316.42. And over on track 1, that's going to bring us into the Pro Stock 4-wheel drive trucks. Totally Confused, Winston Glover out of 5 points. He'll be followed by High Voltage, Fireman's Express, Farmer Strong, Mr. Sparkle, Code Blue, Unfinished Business, The Instigator, and Midnight All. A good class of Pro Stock 4-wheel drives. Right now, we're fixing to turn loose another one of these mini rods. John Williams out of Auburn, Kentucky.
All right. Short distance on Brad Foster, obviously having a difficulty. Just under 2 feet. Distance, okay, next is up is Bad Habit, Michael Fanning, the puller out of Estelle Springs, Tennessee. I'll get it straight here in just a minute, folks. Michael Fanning and Bad Habit up on track number 2.
Here's the distance on that totally floored mini. 323.65, 323.65. That's going to bring up Dirt Cheap Steve Wallace out of Athens, Alabama.
Distance for Michael Fanning at Bad Habit, 324.03, 324.03 the distance for Bad Habit and Michael Fanning. That's going to bring up Precision Pro with Dustin Whitaker in the saddle, pulling out of Woodville, Alabama.
All right, over on track 1, that will be a pro stock four-wheel drive. That's Totally Confused. Winston Glover, 5 Points, Tennessee, local here in the county. Got a few trucks local right here in the county. Woo, how about that? All right, good pass for Totally Confused. Hey, over here on track 3, Dirt Cheap, his distance, 339.80. 339.80. He's sitting out front.
Out here on track number 2, we've got Precision Pro hooking up. That's Dustin Whitaker pulling out of Woodville, Alabama.
All right, here's the distance for Totally Confused, 281.24. 281.24. It looked like he may have had a little mechanical difficulty. That's going to bring in out of 5 Points, Tennessee. Another down the road, Lee Whitley calls his truck High Voltage. Over here on track 3, this is Brandon Hill, calls his ride Playing Dirty. He's out of Gibson, Tennessee.
Distance on Precision Pro and Dustin Whitaker is 321 and 15. 321 and 15 the distance for Precision Pro.
Ooh, he kind of took a scenic route up through there.
He's dodging that pothole.
And the distance for Playing Dirty, 304.11, 304.11. That'll bring up Scrap Iron, David Sneed out of Springfield, Tennessee, next on track 3.
On track 2, next puller is going to be 50 Shades of Green with Dylan Barnett in the saddle. He's pulling out of Lafayette, Kentucky.
Ooh, that sled got heavy down there for Lee Whitley in the High Voltage. He was sure enough digging. All right, right, here's the distance for high voltage, 296.60, 296.60. That's going to bring in Dylan Springer out of Lexington, Alabama. Fireman's Express. Again, over here on track 3, David Sneed in the scrap iron.
Distance on 50 Shades of Green is going to be 322.70, 322.70. Next puller on track number 2, all the way from Worthington, Minnesota. You heard that right. It's going to be Steve Bausma on Special Edition.
Had a little trouble over there. Hey, over here on the mini rod scrap iron, David Sneed, his distance 353.37, 353.37. All right, the distance for the Fireman's Express. 237.39, 237.39. Hey, that's going to bring in next to Farmer Strong, Gary Willingham out of Crossville, Tennessee.
I got Steve Bausma out of Minnesota hooking up on track number 2.
Correction on that last distance on scrap iron is 353.32. I think I said 37, but 32. That's going to bring in Doc Nick Hayes out of Estill Springs over here on track 3. And again, over on track 1, that's going to bring in Farmer Strong, Gary Willingham, Crossville, Tennessee.
Ooh-wee, look at that. Distance for Steve Bausma and Special Edition, 326 and 33. 326 and 33 the pull.
All right, we're jumping back to track 3 here again. This is Doc Nick Hayes out of Estill Springs, Tennessee. Hang on. Woo! Hey, I like mini rods.
Somebody get him a clean pair of underwear.
Y'all give him a big hand. Looks like Nick may got shook up just a little bit. And they are calling for the lift over here. May have some front end damage. Need to pick him up and drag him out. Do need somebody on a lift, some type of loader device to pick up the front end and pull him out. Over here on track 3. All right, over on track 1, that's the Farmer Strong. Heath Hill needs you on the light. Here he comes. All right, here's the distance over on track 1 for Farmer Strong truck. 295.65. 295.65. That's going to bring up Al Durrance out of Glenville, Georgia. Mr. Sparkle. And we're attempting to get the track cleared over here on track 3. Hope Nick is okay. He took a pretty rough ride right there. I tell you what, believe it or not, it's pretty shaky in there. He was bouncing around pretty good. So let's hope for the best for him.
That was Colby Counts and the Dixie Deer pulling on track number 2. Distance for Colby Counts, 330 and 56, 330 and 56 the pull for Colby Counts and the Dixie Deer. Need a pull off for Dixie Deer, please.
All right, he's getting out. Y'all give him a hand. He took a pretty rough ride right there. His distance, 275.30, 275.30. That's going to bring up a headhunter, Joe Armstrong out of Petersburg, Tennessee. I'm sure he's shaking up just a little bit.
Okay, hooking up on track number 2 is our other Minnesota driver. This is Mike Bausma. He's pulling a tractor called Limited Edition. We appreciate you fellas coming down all this way. That's about 1,200 miles on the road. Long old ride to come on down here to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Thanks for coming. Got this one and one more in the limited pro stock class. Limit lightweight super stock, get ready. Lightweight super stock, get ready.
All right, good hook right there for Mr. Sparkle. All right, here's the distance for Mr. Sparkle, 294.08, 294.08.
That was a pretty pass right there.
Yes, indeed. Hey, over on track 1, our next puller will be Code Blue, Jerry McKinney out of Clifton, Kentucky.
Distance for Mike Bausma, 328 and 67, 328 and 67 the pull. One puller left in our limited pro stock class. It's going to be Larry Dean out of Hollywood, Alabama, on a tractor he calls Never Satisfied.
Another rough ride. All right, 315.19, 315.19 for the headhunter, last puller in the class. It's going to be Burning Money, Jimmy Cook, Franklin, Kentucky.
One puller left in this limited pro stock class. That's Larry Dean on Never Satisfied out of Hollywood, Alabama.
Good pass right there for Jerry McKinney in the cold blue.
Distance for Larry Dean is never satisfied. 3:13 and 25. 3:13 and 25. That's our limited pro stock class. I'll have your order finish here in just a second.
All right, how far did that cold blue truck go? 306.80. 306.80. And right now, he's sitting out front, but we still got some good trucks left to come. Unfinished business. Jamie Kincaid out of Loretta will be up next. And we're looking for that Burning Money Jimmy Cook mini rod over here on track 3. He will be our last puller on the mini rod class.
All right, here's your order of finish. Here's your order of finish in the limited pro stock class. 4th place. Hang on, I'll give it to you here in just a minute.
Ooh, little bumpy, but not a bad pad.
All right, order of finish in the limited pro stock class. 4th place with a pull of 328 and 32. 328 and 32 the pull. Nathan Brown the puller and Double Vision taking 4th place. 3rd place went to Mike Bausma on limited edition. Worthington, Minnesota driver taking 3rd. 328 and 67 the pull. 328 and 67. 2nd place went to Colby Counts in the Dixie Deer, Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Colby got on a pull of 330 and 56, 330 and 30 and 56. That's 330 and 56 for Colby Counts. And your winner out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee on Deer Hunter 4.1 is Ethan Weston. His pull 340 and 18, 340 and 18. Ethan Weston, your limited pro stock winner.
All right, here's the distance for Burning Money. 339.24, 339.24. Good hook right there. Here's your order of finish in the mini rods. 4th place going to Underdog, 325 and 75. 3rd place is going to Burning Money, 339.24. 2nd place going to Dirt Cheap, 339.80. And your winner, Scrap Iron, David Sneed, 353.32. Good pull for the unfinished business. All right, distance on that unfinished business, 293.44, 293.44. That's going to bring up Wesley Lusk out of Altamont, Tennessee. Truck's called the Instigator. Tell me this, what y'all think about them mini rods? Do you like them? Yeah, I sure do too. Have y'all had a good time out here with us tonight? Little something for everybody.
All right, first puller in the lightweight supers is Mike White in Blue Blazes. He's out of Cox Creek, Kentucky. Mike White in Blue Blazes, your first puller. Pull off tractor, please. Distance for Mike White, Blue Blazes, is going to be 3:15 and 26, 3:15 and 26, and we are underway on the lightweight super stock class.
That's the instigator, Wesley Lusk.
Next puller on track number 2 is Brandon Phillips on Insanity. Brandon Phillips and Insanity pulling out of Vine Grove, Kentucky.
All right, the distance for the instigator over on track 1, 298.72, 298.72. Last hook on track 1, coming in now, Andrew Powell out of Crossville, Tennessee, the Midnight All.
Here's your pulling order in the lightweight super stock. Looking for Brandon Phillips up next, and Evan McDaniel and JR, Kevin Essery and Even Thunder, then Kevin Van Slyke and Blue Devil at 2XL, Clay Haney on Cujo, Cole Forrester on Airborne, Larry Phillips on Extremely Insane, and John Cross on Tennessee Traveler. That'll be our lightweight superstock class. That'll be our last class of the evening. Brandon Phillips and Insanity pulling out of Vine Grove, Kentucky, coming up on track 2.
And drivers, if you can hear me right now, don't forget your checks will be available down at the south end at the Mid-South table. Don't come up here looking for them.
That loud bang you heard, that was not in the script.
No, that sounded expensive from up here.
Distance 263 and 27, 263 and 27, and a broke tractor.
Y'all need to give all these pullers a big hand coming out here burning this expensive fuel just for y'all's entertainment, I tell you what. All right, here's the distance on that midnight oil truck. 312.96. 312.96. Looks like that's going to take the class. I'll have your top order finish here in just a minute. Drivers, if you can hear me, I'm getting word from the track officials. They need you to move your vehicles that are done pulling. It's down here on the south end. You got the road all choked up and people cannot get in and out. So we do need you to move your units, get them on out, head back toward the pits.
Next puller on track number 2 is going to be Evan McDaniel out of Florence, Alabama. Pulling on the tractor he calls JR.
All right, this will be your top 4 in the Pro Stock 4-wheel drive. Fourth place going to High Voltage, Lee Whitney out of 5 points, 296.60. Third place, the Instigator, Wesley Lutz, 298.72. No, I'm sorry. Second place is going to Cold Blue, Jerry McKinney, Clifty, Kentucky, 306.80. Third place is going to the Instigator, 298.72, and first place, your winner. I'm going to start this all over. I got that all tangled up. Fourth place, High Voltage. Third place, the Instigator. Second place, Cold Blue, 306.80. And your winner, Midnight Oil, Andrew Powell, Crossville, Tennessee, 312.96. And we're done on track 1. But hey, there's still some good pulling left right here in the middle.
Okay, you got Evan McDaniel getting lined up on track 2. He's pulling out of Florence, Alabama.
Just getting word we had a couple of drivers got shook up over here on the mini rod track. They have been checked out by EMS. That's part of the traffic jam back there. But seems like everybody's okay, and that's the best outcome we can hope for.
Nice pull. All right, distance for Evan McDaniel and JR is 271 and 07, 271 and 07, the distance on JR and Evan McDaniel. All right, next puller is going to be Kevin Essery out of Milledgeville, Tennessee, pulling on Evening Thunder.
Again, this is the Evening Thunder Tractor, Kevin Essery, Milledgeville, Tennessee. Been here in the Middle Tennessee District Fairground many a trip. If y'all enjoyed the show so far tonight, tell you what, we got less than about a half a dozen hooks left here. What y'all think about seeing 80, 90 hooks in just about 3 hours time? Y'all like that? We all glad you came. We're going to try to do it again next year about this time. Good pass. Three 111.80, 311.80. Kevin Essery on that Evening Thunder, not too bad considering I understand he broke a crank in here last night. Get her back together and back up here. Hey, coming in next, Blue Devil 2XL, Kevin Van Slyke out of Chapel Hill, Tennessee. Blue Tractor. Y'all, the Mid-South Pullers will be right back here at Rotary Park coming up first weekend in October to Middle Tennessee District Fair, October 2nd and 3rd. Be running a couple of good classes, or 2 or 3 good classes each night, maybe 4 classes. You're not going to want to miss that along with the fair. That'll be Friday night, Saturday night, October 2nd and 3rd. And hey, coming up August 21st and 2nd, I believe it is, will be the Crossroads of Dixie Antique Tractor and Engine Show. Right here will be our 30th annual. We would love to have y'all come out. We do an awful lot of tractor pulling it in, too. We don't pull this hot stuff. We pull antiques and farm stock. But it's always a great show. If you've never been, mark your calendars. Come on out and be with us third weekend there in August. Join in and see some pretty old tractors and a lot of good antique tractor pulling. Some struggles last night. Look like they've overcome them pretty good. Two 80.66, 280.66 for the Blue Devil 2XL. That's going to bring in Cujo. Clay Haney out of Athens, Alabama. Cujo been here in Lawrenceburg a lot of times over the years. While he coming in hooking up, I don't recognize a couple of folks. That one on the scraper tractor, Colby Counts, and then Darren Long on that roller. And J.R. Schrader down here on the other roller, and all our track crew. Not sure who's in the skid steer right now. But these are members of the Crossroads Club, and they have done an outstanding job keeping these tracks in shape. Don't y'all think? Give them a hand. I know that seems kind of silly to give a hand to the track crew, but they make the show move right along.
By the way, folks, once again, once we finish up tonight, if you would check around your seating area and grab any cups, papers, bottles. Mom and Dad, be sure and get your kids. Husbands, be sure and get your wives. Wives, be sure and get your husbands and deposit them in the trash down at the bottom of the steps. Thanks very much.
Yeah, we'll care who you go home with. Just don't leave nobody behind. D21 Cujo. Kicking up dust. All right, distance on Cujo, 286.12. 286.12. That's going to bring in a tractor out of Vine Grove, Kentucky. Extremely insane. Larry Phillips. What a pass. All right, good distance right there. Extremely insane. 309.43. 309.43. And that's going to bring up our last puller of the night, Tennessee Traveler, John Cross out of Trenton, Tennessee. Once again, y'all, if you'd like to keep up with what the Mid-South Pullers are doing, look them up on Facebook, Mid-South Pullers Association. See the results from the night, last night. All the pulls are posted on there, plus the upcoming events. If you enjoyed what you see in here, hey, you don't have to travel too awful far to go see some more good pulling. I don't know about y'all, but you would have probably had to win a very long way somewhere in the country tonight to find a pool much better than what's went on right here in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee tonight. Yeah, they heard about us all the way up in Minnesota and come down to pool with us. Out of Texas, Louisiana, I tell you what, Mid-South Pullers draw some of the top equipment in the country. I mean, can't take nothing away from that. Here we go, last puller in the Tennessee Traveler. Not a bad pass, not a bad pass at all. A little rough on the start. All right, here is his distance, 268.89, 268.89. I'll have your order finish here in just a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the rodeo next weekend, December 12th and 13th here at Rotary Park. And the Kids Place Demolition Derby and Jump and Run on Saturday, July 11th. Kicking off at 5:30 in the afternoon. Those are the next big events here at Rotary Park. We hope you'll come back and see us again.
All right, here is your order of finish. Top four, fourth place going to Cujo, 286 and 12. Third place going to Extremely Insane, 309.43. Second place going to Evening Thunder, 311.8. And your winner, Blue Blazes, 315.26. Y'all, that's all we got. We ain't got no more. But we will be back here in October for another two nights of Mid-South pulling. And, of course, like I say, look up on Facebook. You can see the schedule of Mid-South Pullers appearing somewhere just about every weekend between now and October. Y'all be safe going home. Be sure to tell your friends what a good time you had. Come on back next year for the Rumble at the Crossroads. Good night and be safe.